So, how about them prime field devices, huh?
Why do men love women?
What does a man look for in a woman?
What is the one thing that he can't ignore? Nice breasts.
She means ass!
Yes! Ass! We, the Blue Eyes, have uncovered this secret. An invaluable component of every woman's beauty is a flawless ass.
I'm sorry, but I have no idea what's going on here.
The boundary interface prime field devices are artificial humans who were originally created for the purpose of exploring the boundary, the realm separated from time where all timelines intersect in the BlazBlue universe. As we know that New 13 is the one with the highest number with none after her, we can assume that there are only 13 known boundary interface prime field devices. To make a long story short, the very first prime field device, aka the 0th prime field, is known as the Origin, and she was created by humanity after they had discovered the Susanoo unit floating about in the boundary. They had then used her to traverse the boundary itself, and she later made contact with the master unit Amaterasu, the sister unit to both the Susanoo unit and the Tsukuyomi unit, with the three being collectively known as the San Kishin. When she had contacted the master unit Amaterasu, she would become the first Eye of Azure and would gain godlike power with the ability to change reality to her whim. Afraid of this, humanity sealed her in the boundary, and she would then become the wielder of the master unit Amaterasu itself. The other prime field devices that existed at the time who traveled the boundary gained their own souls and became recognized as people. Humanity yet again feared this, and this had led to a conflict called the Prime Field War. Prime fields versus humankind. The Origin, horrified about what humanity did to these prime fields with all the experiments and the torture, would use Amaterasu's powers to rewrite reality, known as phenomenon intervention, to make sure that each battle the prime fields would get into would be a guaranteed win for them. To gain an advantage over their creations and to obtain the Azure, they had both created the Takamagahara system and the Black Beast. The Black Beast was a bad idea considering that A, the Black Beast couldn't be controlled, and B, since it existed outside of logic, boiled down to it being immune to anything that doesn't exist within the fundamentals the world follows, it couldn't be killed at the time, which led to the destruction of the world itself. Nothing but a ruined wasteland, the Origin would use Amaterasu's powers to reconstruct the world through her own memory and become the god of this new world. In this new world, she would begin the time loop, starting from January 1st of the year 2100, which is the beginning of the Dark War era, and ending on January 1st of the year 2200. Where Ragnar the Bludge and New 13 would fight, ending in Ragnar's defeat, and the two would fall into the cauldron that leads to the boundary into the time of the Dark War era, causing the two to fuse into a Black Beast and forcing the time to loop back to 2100 again as a result of the death of Ragnar. Now that was a rundown of the Prime Field War, we can finally move on and talk about the main boundary interface Prime Field devices that are playable in the game. Lambda 11, Mu 12 aka Novell Vermilion, and New 13. Now, Mu and Nu are among the known boundary interface prime field devices that are Murakumo units, wielders of the two Nox Nectaris known as Lux Sanctus Murakumo. They are also dubbed anti-Sankishin core units, weapons that are meant to be used to kill the master unit Amaterasu and end the time loops. Lambda 11 wields an imitation Murakumo unit that was created by Kokanoe. All three of these girls were cloned from Ragnar and Jin's sister Saya, who carried some of the Origin soul within her, and therefore all three of them would then carry a piece of it as well. Mu 12 is known as a Kusanagi, a prime field device that successfully merged with a fragment of the Azure, which was possible thanks to her inheriting the Azure, making her the successor to the Azure and gaining the Eye of the Azure like the Origin did. As Kusanagi, Mu was also meant to be used as the Sword of the God Slayer and killed the master unit Amaterasu and ultimately end the time loops, but this didn't come to pass.
Now, Murakumo, it's time to awaken! This world is nothing but lies, 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 lies! But don't worry, I'll show you. I'll show you the truth called despair! In the name of Susanoo, I command you, awaken Murakumo! No, not Murakumo, Kusanagi, the sword, the Godslayer! Your blade will cut away the lies that cover this world! The Azure is mine! Try and stop me now, Master Unit! Amaterasu!
I've arrived, reborn as Kusanagi, the destroyer of all living creatures. I am death.
Wake the hell up, you idiot!
A botched attempt to create a Kusanagi results in the birth of a black beast, as shown with Nu 13, a prime field device fusing with Ragna, who holds the Azure Grimoire, a pale imitation. Outside of Lambda 11, Mu 12, and Nu 13, there are at least 2 other boundary interface prime field devices that I can discuss. We'll start with the boundary interface prime field device number 5, the mother of Ragna the Blood Edge, Jin Kisaragi, and Saya, who had been mated with a black beast in order to conceive them. Number 5 is described by Relics as an anomaly who shouldn't exist and a perfect copy of the girl she was modeled after. This girl, someone that Relics called a monster and knew of over 100 years ago, heavily resembles Izanami's current vessel. This girl would be able to devour souls and enhance her own powers, and that at some point in her life she was devoured by her brother. This girl, though it's not outright stated, is heavily implied to be Saya Terumi, the younger sister of Naoto Kurogane, who the description matches. In a roundabout way, this would make Naoto Kurogane the uncle to Ragna, Jin, and Saya. Boundary interface prime field device number 5 would then be killed by Jubei later down the line, and the children would be then put into the care of a sister of a church, a sister by the name of Celica A. Mercury. However, it is a bit iffy on whether or not Ragna, Jin, and even Saya count as prime field devices themselves, since they were the children of number 5, and is never stated out loud or at all for that matter. Now that we talked about the boundary interface prime field devices, we can move on to the boundary interface prime field device Embryo storage. This type of prime field device refers to a character named Belle, a test model who appears in the manga BlazBlue Variable Heart. The personality of Belle acts as a limiter of sorts to make sure the prime field is protected and safe at all costs. If there is any chance that Belle will be smelted into the creation of a Nox Victoris, weapons that were created by the Great Sage 9 during the Dark War era to combat the Black Beast, a protocol called the Luna Sinus system would then allow her to control this weapon. Later on, Belle would then become Platinum the Trinity with 3 souls inhabiting the body: Trinity Glassfield, Luna, and Senna. Next, we can move on to the Prime Field Interference Manifestation. This type of Prime Field comes from X-Blaze, and an alternative name of this Prime Field is Embryo Storage. A character known as S, her name being an abbreviation for Embryo Storage, is one such unit. They were created for the purpose of storing something within them known as the embryo being a crystallization of the Azure that requires hundreds and thousands of souls and has the power to pretty much do and create anything. Prime field interference manifestations are seemingly more mechanical than other prime fields. Another character known as Nobody is this type of prime field, though Nobody is simply the humanoid personification of the embryo inside S during the events of X-Blade's Lost Memories. Lastly, there are the SN, or Embryo Storage Nu, prototype successors of S that share a collective hive mind, but their bodies are made from inorganic materials, and they lack the ability to think independently, thus making them the most inhuman of the prime fields so far. Finally, we can discuss the Dimensional Boundary Contact Prime Field S. Little is known about this type of prime field, but what we do know is that they appear in the BlazBlue Blood Experience light novel, and it refers to the character Kiro Hikagami. At some point, 6 were around until they were killed by a villain named Spinner Superior, and Akira was created from the pieces of her dead sisters, making her the 7th one. Kiro can also use her own Murakumo unit, though it isn't the Lux Sanctus Murakumo, and is just referred to as the Murakumo unit. There also exists official art of Kiro taking down her hair and taking off her glasses, and she heavily resembles S, which I find very funny. And it also does make a lot of sense considering that Kiro is a dimensional boundary contact prime field S. And they don't say embryo storage outright, but S has been known to mean embryo storage, at least as of X-Blaze. So, you know, there's that. Now we're near the end of the video, and I want to talk about the other prime fields that Moria has either drawn or just ones that appeared in other media. So I can start with BlazBlue Alternative Dark War and with the character CL Sulfur, who is the main character, Bray's bodyguard. Now, I'll be real, I have no idea what type of prime field CL is, and I could not find information on what exactly it is, considering the fact that, you know, BlazBlue Alternative Dark War was a Japanese-only game, and I don't think I've seen anything about the type of prime field that she is. All I know is that she is a prime field, and that's pretty much it. And all the abilities that would be associated with her are just basic abilities that all prime field devices have, so there's really nothing special to talk about in CL. In regards of, you know, what type of prime field she is, but I wanted to bring that up because she is one. So in BlazBlue Alternative Dark War, there's this antagonistic organization known as Babel, and its members are Hearn as the leader, Zara, Semia, Oliver, and another Dark Mai. And Oliver, in particular, is the first male prime field device that we've seen so far. And it could be assumed that the other members of Babel are also prime field devices as well, with the exception of another Dark Mai, because another Dark Mai is a completely different thing. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I really wish we had more on them. So, but yeah, we could assume that all the members outside of another Dark Mai of Babel are prime field devices, which would be cool because that means we'll have more male prime field devices, which is actually pretty shocking because we never had any until now. So that's a cool way of introducing more prime fields to the series. Oh, Hearn, we already know who the hell you are. So these last 2 entries are just for fun because I really have to get them off my plate because Mori has only made these in art form, and I'm probably never going to have an opportunity to talk about these again, so why not? So the first one we got to talk about is Gamma 3. I don't know what prompted Mori to post Gamma 3, but the fact that Gamma 3 exists is kind of funny considering that, you know, there's a bunch of other prime fields that we don't know of, and somehow 3 was going to be important somehow. And knowing how the Greek lettering goes, you know, we have Gamma 3, so we could assume that maybe number 5, prime field device number 5, would have been Epsilon, which I would have been down for. They never said Epsilon, but damn, it would have been sick to actually see the prime field in action. And the last one I gotta talk about is Alpha 1. Considering Mori has been drawing this character for years, through multiple pieces of just randomly scattered artwork, you could definitely tell that Alpha was going to be important later down the line. Hell, at the end of BlazBlue Central Fiction, you get basically a wall of text, and then at the very bottom, you get the Greek letter for Alpha, which made my monkey brain go off and assume that, hey, maybe Alpha's going to be playable or important in some other BlazBlue game later down the future. Don't know, but I really would have loved to see her. I mean, she looks super cool. This is a female Ragna who takes aspects from New, like with the Murakumo and shit. Then she wields Ragna's Aura Monster / Blood Scythe, and then she also looks like what has the Soul Eater on her arm. And then, like, this character looks cool. Like, I really wish this character got playable in something, or at the very least, outside of art, because you definitely could tell in some possible future when BlazBlue would have had maybe, I don't know, the game after Central Fiction or whatever, like something about Alpha was going to be implemented into a game and not just this. And it bums me out because the character looks cool as hell. But yeah, everyone, that's the end of the video. Appreciate you watching this far if you made it to the end. If I did miss anything about the prime fields that I should have gone into more detail about or anything like that, I will make follow-up videos to stuff like this, especially about Alpha, because I really want to talk more about her in greater detail if possible. But now I want to just end the video off and thank you for watching this far. Appreciate it, and I'm out. because editing videos are exhausting. See y'all next time. Thanks for everyone.